right. Well, thank you all so much for being out here. It's great just looking around at so many familiar faces, and it's wonderful to be gathering again today. Ryan and I spent some time praying this morning in anticipation of being here. And after we were together, the Lord gave me a scripture to share with all of you. It's from Hebrews 11:23. It says, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful, and let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds, not forsaking our own assembling together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." So, seeing how excited everybody was and that Vinny had to grab the microphone and calm everybody down, I think that we've all missed people, and it's so great being together again with so many people. And so again, thank you for being here. I met Ryan 5 or 6 years ago on my first mission trip to Mexicali, Mexico. My beautiful wife led several years before I got there, and I heard all about Mexico. And when I finally signed up with my son Ryan when he was a freshman, Susanna says, "You got to join Ryan's group. Ryan's a great leader." And I'd only known of Ryan through Zocalo and his role there. He's been with Zocalo for 17 years and has run it for several years. I tell you what, you get to know a lot about a person when you drive 15 hours in a car with them and 15 or 16 high school boys, and then you share a tent, an Army grade tent with those same 15 or 16 boys for almost a week's time. And, as good as Ryan is in the marketplace, and, Zocalo is, the most successful Mexican restaurant up here in this entire region and one of the most successful restaurant chains in the entire Sacramento region. He's an even better person. And to watch how he led with his wife, Rebecca, who couldn't be here today because she's home with their new baby. They
pray for us. 2 years old in a month. Woo!
But watching Ryan and Rebecca, the servant leadership was just unbelievable. And their heart for the people of Mexicali. And, I've worked with the homeless for many years in Sacramento, and there's a level of poverty certainly for people living here in Sacramento who are on the streets. When you go to Mexicali and other third world destinations and just experience the poverty, it's something that I had never encountered, and it really was impactful to me. And so, Ryan had such an impact in my life because he showed me how to lead in that, setting. And so, he became a great friend, as did, his wife, Rebecca. And it was just such an honor for me to, be there with him. And it's an incredible honor for me to be here with him today. So thank you, Ryan.
Absolutely. I can't believe I'm on stage. Usually I'm in those chairs. So in fact, I was like, how are we going to sell this thing? I do not want to show up and talk to nobody. And so Scott, he asked me for a bio, which I don't have one. So my first thought was, Ryan Rose, president of Zocalo, free gift cards for all who attend. And I thought that would definitely get people in the room. So I know that we're after lunch and people are going to start snoozing, but I guarantee you we're going to bring some energy up here on the stage.
Absolutely. So Ryan, Zocalo Restaurants. What does Zocalo mean?
One of the quintessential pictures of Mexico City is their town square. And on one side is this beautiful cathedral. Then there's the federal buildings. That part's not so beautiful. And then on the back side of it is actually where the Aztecs decided to bring their kingdom. And so when you think of a Zocalo, throughout Mexico, it's always going to be the center of a city. It's always going to be a gathering place. So if you ask me the definition of what does Zocalo mean as a where, it's a gathering place. For us as a what, it is caring about the guest experience more than they do. And if you were to ask me what's the definition of the why of Zocalo, it would be to make decisions in favor of the customer. So there's multiple definitions depending on which one you're looking for. But what I can tell you is this, is a Mexican restaurant, when you think of the word restaurant, that stems from the word restaurar, to restore. And what we truly feel is that a restaurant is a place that restores others. And then when I think about this room that we're in today, I'm going, the only other place, in my opinion, that does that is the church. And 2021, a lot of people need restored souls, and we feel like we're the place that can do that.
Wow, that was awesome, buddy. Love it. So speaking of the restaurant industry, you know, the restaurant industry, it's a different industry to work in.
After 2020, let me tell you, if there was another way to fill the room, it's get a restaurateur after 2020 up here, because you're going to hear some pain stories out of that one, I'll tell you what.
Right. So the people who work in the restaurant industry, there's a culture within that restaurant, you know, industry. Can you share a little bit about that culture?
Misfits. Misfits, right? Misfits. In fact, it's not only misfits, it's people with self-doubt. Restaurants a lot of times are kind of like this stepping stone into what I'm supposed to do next. And a lot of people don't know what the next step is. And they get a lot of pressure from family, or they get a lot of pressure from culture, they get a lot of pressure from friendships is what that's supposed to be, and they have no idea. And some of us stay. 17 years later, some of us stay. And so this self-doubt thing, you see it, and it manifests itself in many different ways. This is sad truth. I can count on my phone here. I have Weave on speed dial. If you don't know what Weave is for abused women. And the amount of people that I don't have enough fingers on my hands to tell you how many times I've had to call Weave to tell them I got someone that needs your help. And then when you think about it, old school culture of a restaurant is it's alcoholism. It's a place to party. It's the place where you're trying to hook up at night. Let's be real. And so death. I'm sorry to be morbid here, but death of employees because of liver failure is a real deal. Going to those funerals is a real deal. Speaking to the family members after that is a real deal. And so what we've tried to do at Zocalo through our tenure is change the culture. Someone was talking about culture earlier, and it's the truth. We're not trying to model the past and what restaurants are. We're trying to create the future, and that's the home that we bring at the restaurants there at Zocalo.
That's powerful. Thank you. How did you get involved in the restaurant industry? And tell us a little bit about your training in Spain.
Yeah, so that was a huge connection with his wife, Susanna. I actually did a study abroad back in college to Granada, Spain. And from there, if you've ever been to Europe, spent some time there, life's on the street. It's a convivial style living. And I was just attracted to that, right? And so from there, because I had the time, I had worked and gone to school my whole life. It was the first time I only went to school. So whenever I had time, I was watching cooking shows, and I was eating out, and I was doing the thing, and just continued to bring that passion back to Sacramento. From there, I was able to, I picked up Spanish, right? And the next step was working for an Italian restaurant, actually. Learned a little bit of the structure. Once you know structure of Spanish, you can speak through all the romantic languages, and was able to do a stint in Italy as well. Cooked and traveled through that country, and just continued to hone in on what was possible with food back at home. So I knew from a pretty early age that I was going to stay in the restaurant business.
And how did you get introduced to Zocalo? Because you were involved at the ground floor.
Yeah, so I've gone through every step of that place. I could tell you where the drain pipe comes out of the bar and how to unclog it, right? Because that hasn't changed. And so the beauty of it is 17 years later, you understand what each person's going through in their role, right? What I would tell you about a restaurant is that our thinking is by ticket times. Who's ever worked in a restaurant, right? You feel, yeah, look at that. You feel that pressure of the 10-minute ticket time. And what you don't realize is that starts to get built into your psyche. So I'm at home, we got 10-minute ticket times, right? If I'm at home and I got one that I can get out at 7 tickets deep, but I can get out in 2 minutes and I'm still working on that one, we're gonna do it, right? And what I would also say about a restaurateur, someone who works at a restaurant, we got crazy energy. I don't know if you could tell. We got tons of energy, and it's just this beautiful release. So another great group of people who do really well in restaurants are athletic people, because they like crave that competition. And at the end of the night, when you win, baby, you win. It's like winning a game out there, right? And you love it. And it's not about the nightly win, it's about doing it with your teammates. That's
great. So our youngest daughter, Julia, who's not here today, she's actually serving at Bayside Church. After I was preparing for this interview with Ryan a few weeks ago, he was sharing with me the need for employees. Obviously, owning a restaurant, it's very difficult to find employees these days. And he said, you know, being 16, 17, 18, those people are in demand right now for jobs. And I said, well, I've got a 16-year-old at home who needs work. So
I have to hire her now. He told all you guys you're going to start working with her. We're going to make a phone call after this.
So she filled out the application last week, and then she got a text literally this morning. I was very impressed with the process too, just going through the website and how automated you guys are with technology. It's really amazing. Yeah. So the text that my daughter gets back, it says, hey, if you're still interested in a position at front desk, you know, please respond. And so my 16-year-old daughter's like, what is front desk? I thought I was going to be like a hostess or a busser. So when Ryan got here today, I asked him the question. I said, so, you know, Ryan, front desk, what's that? Is that hostess? And he's like, yeah, that's host station. And I said, well, I didn't know if she can choose that or busser. He's like, no, we have a process. And her two options are hostess or dishwasher. And if you know my daughter, Julia, she would not make it as a dishwasher. So, Ryan, tell us about that process.
You know, we're a restaurant. I understand. You know, my dad would tell me, any business, it's nuts and bolts. We're kind of all doing the same thing, and so the way we see things is about building people up. I'm not asking you to stay for Zocalo for the rest of your life. That would be nice, right? But again, what we're focusing on is building people. And so we feel that in doing so, there's a lot of pressure in a restaurant, right? Food and Wine magazine, one of the biggest national magazines about food, a month ago is going, customer entitlement is at its all-time high. In Food and Wine magazine, I see it. I can tell you they're right. But there's a reason why they're writing it. And there's just so much pent-up frustration right now. And as a restaurant, sorry to go off topic here, but 2020 was not easy. Not everyone made it. If 2020 was an earthquake, we're still in the aftershocks in 2021. It's not about, oh, they're back to being busy. The customer expectation has not been around for a year. They did not see the struggle, but they expect 2019. Mm-hmm. And so what we're dealing with is, and it's no one's fault, by the way, right? This is just what's going on. And so what we're dealing with as a business is we're fortunate that we had partners that held our payments, right? I got you. You know, we feel that we're workhorses for some of the vendors out there. So it's let the workhorse run. We're going to get you back. Don't worry about it. But guess what? Those bills are hitting now. You have the constant costs that are coming, and they're rising. Inflation. Who's seen that one? For a restaurant, and California is one of the very few states that does not have a tip credit. A tip credit is given to states that understand that others make tip, therefore they're not a true minimum wage employee, not in California. So Jan 1 hit, minimum wage went to $14. No one was saying, hey, pause that one because restaurants aren't making it right now. That didn't happen. And so the constant increase in external factors of restaurateurs right now. And the unfortunate part, we're all really tired. We're tired. And we've been beat up. And you thought you were going to go, how am I going to, I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my house. And my kids and I are going to live on the street. That's what we were all thinking last year. And here we are in the aftershocks. When everyone's saying, when everyone out there saying, this is the revival of the restaurants, we're tired. We're tired, you know, so when I get back to this idea of building people, it's how do you deal with that pressure every day? So a 17-year-old who doesn't really know what they want to do, it's how do I get you to believe in yourself and know that you can get through any pressure that may hit you throughout life? That's what we're working on. And it's not easy because typically when pressures hit, guess what? We want to quit. We want to quit. This is kind of cool, and if there's ever things that I can tie back to being a Christian, our philosophies. We have 10. We call them the 10 sandbox philosophies. We just want you to play in the sandbox. Don't go outside the sandbox. Play inside it, and do that through our 10 philosophies. Why do we have 10? If God said that all we need is 10 commandments to live life, then all we need are 10 philosophies to run a restaurant, right? And it's that simple. And so one of the things that we talk about is listen to your customer, not your critic. Because we all got a lot of critics. And that self-doubt voice in our head is the biggest one of them all. And the pressure of a restaurant is always going to tell you, I got a ton of critics. The restaurateur inside of us says, I got enough fight to deal with it. And that's what we expect and hope for the people that go through our programs, is that they can build that confidence inside themselves to take on any challenge that may come their way in their life.
That's great, thank you. And from starting 17 years ago to where you are today, and Ernesto Jimenez, the majority owner, transitioned, you know, running the restaurant group to you. You're the president.
Yep.
I mean, 17 years of starting here and ending up here.
Yeah.
What has that journey been like? And, you know, is that what you desire too for others in your company, to start here at the front and continue to work higher?
Ernesto Jimenez, for those who are Sacramentans, is from the restaurant Ernesto's, 16th and S. He, in my opinion, he's a 30-year-old vet. He, in my opinion, pioneered people eating in restaurants downtown. That didn't happen all the time. Downtowns typically was homeless, and you don't go there. And then he had the grand idea to open up Zocalo on 18th and Capitol, which was also a homeless block. He was of the first to create Midtown Sacramento as we know it now. Those are nice shoes to fill. And so what I would say is, anyone gone through succession plans? Anyone kind of deal with that or think about that stuff? It's a bumpy road. And what I would tell you from my standpoint is, when I think about it, I have to have extreme empathy for him. Because really what I'm doing is, I'm taking his dream. I'm taking his dream. Because when you start, you're not imagining that you're going to have to do a succession plan. It's you. You're the main character the whole time. And you were supposed to do this, and you had the list, and things get tough. The reality is, if we want people to grow, and we want to get better, and we want to get bigger, you're just going to cap yourself. Some restaurants are like this. I don't know if anyone had ever eaten at Biba Restaurant. Oh, amazing. She unfortunately passed away this last year. A few months later, COVID happens. The family closes the restaurant. It's okay that the restaurant closed with Biba because she was the restaurant. Mm-hmm. That's not Zocalo's style. And so from his side, it takes a courageous person to give up your dream to someone else. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. From my side is listen to every story he has to tell me because he's trying to purvey his dream to me. And I take that very seriously. And so when I would tell anyone going through succession, because I have to tell myself, I had to do the same thing. I was the executive chef. I was a district manager. I was in the details. There's a great book that talks about this. It's called The Leadership Pipeline. And as you move through the leadership pipeline, you have to do this one thing. Die to the position. You have to die to your past position. Because if we're all technical, I'm on the floor, I make it happen, I'm the face, and I start moving up, I have other responsibilities that the company relies on me for. And I have to be okay that someone else does the job that I previously had. And that's not easy. And so this term, once again, comes from this understanding to truly follow Jesus, we have to die to ourselves. We're not in control anyways. We get in our own way because we think we're in control, but we don't die to ourselves. And so in the same sense, we have to die to the position to be okay that things are going to continue and move on. We're not in control anyways.
That's great. And you speak about Jesus, and I know you to be a follower of Jesus, as do many other people. Within your restaurant, how many of your team members know you to be a man of faith, and how does that servant leadership that you lead with pervade throughout your organization?
Anyone ever gone on a drive with Michael? Hey, no joke. You spend 15 minutes in the car with Michael, you can recite the Bible backwards. Oh. He's good. He's good. I don't have what Michael has. He has a talent for talking about his faith with other people. I'm not that person, I'll be super honest. What I'm always interested in is the conversation someone's going to have about me when I'm not there. I'm interested in that one, and I don't know if it's happening. I can assume, and I hope that it does. At some point, and I don't really care about a title, right? But at some point, if someone who's been with the company for 2 months says, "Why did the president of Zocalo just have a conversation with me?" At some point, that conversation is going to come around and say, because he's a follower of Christ. And I think about that a lot. If I was to truly look at, again, this is my bias. I believe Jesus would have been the greatest restaurateur of them all, right? To get hit with stuff all day long and still want to serve you? Right? And that's what we have to do on a day-to-day basis. There's this donut shop. I live in Lamb Park on the Fringe. I'm really on Broadway, but I call it Lamb Park. And there's this old school donut shop, right? Marie's Donuts. You show up at Marie's Donuts at 4:30, and you see 4 guys in there that don't talk to each other, banging out donuts, right? And that's when you get the freshest ones. You got to be from the park to know that. And the skill set of this gentleman, he was cutting the donut. And if you see a donut cutter, it's a circle. And if you would think about it, there's a cutter in the middle which creates the hole. And as he's cutting his dough, there's a guy making dough, he's cutting it, and there's a guy frying. There's a guy getting ready for cashier. He had this sense about him. He could have been blind, he could have been asleep, he might have been asleep. Yet he could do this motion. He could do this motion. And what he would do is he'd cut the dough, and with his middle finger, he'd flick out the middle, and that would create the donut hole. I'm half asleep. I'm half asleep when I'm watching this. And when I thought about it later, I'm going, how do you know, he was an older gentleman. And I'm going, how do you show up every single day and cut donuts for a living? That's got to get boring. Unless I was to think, I didn't have a conversation with a guy making a lot of stories up, just so you know. Unless I was to think, what has the donut done for him? Who in his family has gone to school because of him going and showing up to work and doing the same thing every single day? How many people were able to have a roof over his head because of that donut? And start to truly understand that the reason he goes is because of the purpose of his life. And so what makes it difficult about what we do on the day-to-day, I don't even remember your question, sorry.
All good.
What makes it difficult is we have to show up every single day and do the same thing again. Every day. Because if Susanna shows up to my restaurant, she didn't see yesterday. She only knows her one experience. She's only thinking about her one thing. And if I want to sit there and go, I'm tired of cutting donuts, and I give her something that's mediocre, that's not fair to her. And that's the mindset. And it's not easy for us to always go, I got to care every single day I show up. We know that we're on stage, and people who are coming in do not see what we do, and we have to care about their experience more than they do.
That's servant leadership. You answered the question. So you alluded to what's happened in the last 16 months with regards to COVID and how it's impacted your industry. And you guys have made some amazing changes, everything from, ordering on your phone, and it goes straight from your phone to the kitchen. And I mean, you guys are really on the cutting edge with a lot of the technology and other things. Can you share a little bit about the last 16 months and changes that you guys have implemented?
March 17th, I laid off 300 people. I took a 50% pay decrease and had to keep a minimal staff and say, we can do this thing. I just need you in. I'll never forget that day. There was 2 times through last year, I don't know how many kind of people know, and I don't even remember, it's foggy, and I want it to be. We had to close down twice. And so we closed March. And through that time, no one knew. Yet we were having to make decisions on what we needed to do in that time. I could tell you we never closed. We never closed. We never closed. 20 of the 23 people that I would talk to in a day would tell me to close. And the emotional decision making that was happening in those moments would hit you in the face and go, I'm freaking out. And at some point you have to sit there and go, I need to make logical decisions here. And so one of the things that we did, we're kind of a company, we're going, hey man, you got a great idea, go run with it. You don't need me to prove nothing. But in that moment, we had to take all communication, we had to get tight again, we had to get small again. The landscape of the business changed. And so our day-to-day had to change with that. We could not keep running the same way. And so we got tight again. And through that, we were able to open up a centralized kitchen, which now produces for all our restaurants. We opened in Folsom during COVID, during the fires, right after the social justice movement. The fire in Folsom was so dense, you had to have your headlights on. And the only seat that you could sit in was outside. That was fun. And so we made it, right? We pushed. We never wanted someone to go, is Zocalo open today for to go? We were always talking. We were making up promos just to talk because we wanted to be really loud. And it mattered because everyone on our team, it was my core, it was the management team. If we don't make money here, we're out. The second closure happened at the end of last year. It was right into November, it's going to December. December is one of your busiest months of the year. We had to go back to go. We had to lay everyone off again. And it got to a point. We already had the to-go playbook, right? So it made it a little bit quicker. And as we're going through the year, we get through December, we're going into January, minimum wage just went up. We got down to 5 weeks of cash in the bank. 5 weeks. I slept 5 minutes a night. And we never closed. And we never closed. Why? Because we knew spring was coming. We knew. Get me down to 3 weeks, because I know once I get a ray of sunshine, we're going to be back in. It was a hope. It was a hope to believe that we could do it even when there was only 5 weeks of cash left in the bank. I bring it up because we have, as Christians, this known fact that our hope and belief in Jesus is what it's all about anyways. I don't need to really be concerned about losing. We're going to win. That type of thinking and belief in a higher power, I can't even put myself, not even close to not even fair to put in the same sentence, makes it easier to have hope when there's always 5 weeks of cash left in the bank.
Powerful. Great testimony. So Ryan, you are one of the most avid readers, podcasters. You're constantly wanting to learn, self-improvement, improvement for the organization. How does that play out in your role and amongst your team?
When we moved into the central kitchen in West Sacramento, it was a Chinese restaurant that had been there for 50 years on West Capitol. The gentleman who ran it, when he gave us the keys to the building, was his day of retirement. He was 80. His sons, who were there for the ceremony of giving him the keys, were already retired. His kids were.
Wow.
And so as we started to do construction there, our electrician would come in, he would always be in the attic, and he would every day be pulling down cables. It was like a week worth of him pulling down cables. And he would say, "Y hay más? There's more. I'm not even done. That's the pile, but there's more up there." And what I saw was this. I saw 50 years of electricians trying to connect the same cables together so that they could get the light on over there in the corner. And what our guy did is go, wipe it clean and start over. I bring that up in the thought of education because we can, and I learned this from Pastor Ray from Bayside, and I might butcher how he said it. We can have a 10-year career, and it can be 10 years of 2-year terms that we just redo what we learned in those 2 years and we multiply that 5 times. Or every day I show up, I build on my career. Every year is different because I know the way I was doing it before, let me shed anything that might be making me protect what I have, which goes back to the secession stuff, and actually go, no, we all need to move forward. I know there's something greater out there. And be okay that we all have to be giving throughout this thing to really make it work. And I think that education always makes us go, there's gotta be a better way. It's having the confidence to know that you don't know, but to know you're gonna figure it out.
So now I think I know what it feels like to be a pastor because I just got what I think was a 5-minute warning. 2 minutes? Okay, well, a lot of pastors go over. They don't listen to the guy in the back. So we'll try our best, but give me 5, Scott, because I have a couple questions. Okay, so every year your restaurant does a huge fundraiser for Bayside's Mexicali mission trip, where those of you who don't know, we take 1,100 or 1,200 people down there. 300 or 400 adults, 700 or 800 high school kids. And you get so many people from your restaurant that they come out, they serve, they don't get paid to serve, and you donate all the food. How has that developed over the years, and what impact has that had, for your team?
The first year we did it, we raised $3,000. And as we progressed, someone like Colleen, you start getting really good people in a room and great things happen. I can tell you that much right now. And so I believe our last year, we unfortunately had to pause last year. I believe our last year we raised over $120,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, whatever expense I'm going to vendors. Remember I'm the workhorse? I want my stuff for free for this thing. You're helping too. Congratulations. You're a partner of Mexicali Mexico fundraiser dinner. And so we are able to give 100% of the proceeds because we do have great people who work with us and we have great partners. You alluded to it earlier. You want to see some real faith? Go see faith. Go to church service when there's poverty. Go to church service when there's real hurt. You'll see some faith. Boy, I'll tell you, you start crying tears you didn't even know you were crying. It's happening because you just feel the energy of the people and how much they have to believe that Jesus is going to be for them, because if not, they're not going to make it. It makes it easy to do a fundraiser dinner every year when you see that stuff. I'll tell you that much right now. And here's one of these things where you're going, because of the dinner, we send Zocalo staff to go. The conversation that's happening outside the room when you're not there, we got managers coming back going, man, that one guy spoke really, I was really thinking, and then there you go, right? We had a server, one of our servers from our UV right down on Fair Oaks here. She was from Mexicali, Mexico. It was when we first opened UV, and she's going, what? I used to go to one of the churches, I'm not saying it was Bayside, but I used to go to one of the churches when the Americans would come once a week, or once a year. I was one of the kids. I was one of the kids. It's amazing. It's amazing connections, and these are the stories that you really just hone in on and continue. Maybe she doesn't work with us anymore, but maybe at some point she's going to do that with someone from her because someone did it for her. And that's the things that we're always thinking about.
Thank you, and thank you for your service. You've impacted a lot of lives. I'll tie my last two questions together. We talked about similarities about being in the restaurant industry and being a new dad. We also talked about the importance of maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Yeah. And you could work 80 or 90 hours a week if you wanted to. So talk to us about, being a father and the similarities being in the industry, and then also how you set healthy boundaries.
The way I do business is the way I do family. My values, the way I do things always stay the same, right? I don't have to think differently. I have to act this way at home, at work, and I have to act this way at home. No, it's all the same, right? And what I also know is that those two boys, at some point, they're going to be out in the real world. And the only thing that is going to keep them good is knowing that they're loved. And so the greatest parts of my day is in the morning and in the evening. Not because we're sleeping. But it's the reading of the book. It's the funny things we say. It's the kissing of the Pinocchio that's up on the bookshelf. Right? And so, and that comes because I have a super strong wife. You talk about humility. My wife puts me in my place very easily, right? And what's been the beautiful thing, and we were just talking. We just passed our 10-year anniversary last weekend, and thanks. And one of the things that we talked about is through our relationship, we don't compete with each other. It's not what her career needs to be, and I have to not. Or it's not what my career needs to be, and she cannot. We're cheerleaders. We're cheerleaders. It's not to compete, it's to cheerlead. And to go, you need to go to that class, and I need to watch, go. Or, I need to work Mother's Day, and you need to, sorry, baby, but it's Mother's Day, and I know that we got a 1 month old, but I got to go to the restaurant. Because that's what we do. And be okay with it when we're at home. We've never competed, we've always cheerleaded, and that was created a really strong foundation for our home. You know, the reality is, I will not sacrifice family, but a lot of things have been sacrificed. No one calls me for a birthday party anymore. 17 years of saying no, after year 10, you don't even get the phone call. Right? I don't really have a lot of friends that I go see. Something had to give. And I decided what those things needed to be. And I love all the people and all my friends. I just got to cut something. I only have so much time in a day. And that's how I've been able to really focus. Now, I could tell you, my mind is probably, my wife would tell you, my mind is always thinking about the business even when I'm home. I got to watch that stuff. I know that. But to be home when I need to be home, that's going to happen no matter what.
Thank you so much, Ryan. We are so grateful that we had the opportunity to hear from you today. We love and appreciate you, and we're grateful you made the time to be with us.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys. You got some coupons there in front of you. We'd love to see you in the restaurant. Thank you.